Hi, I'm Allie, and I'm going to teach you how to tack up a horse. So the first thing that I'm going to do is bring the horse out of the stall, like I am right now, and put him into the cross ties. The cross ties ensure that he can't run away from me. I'm going to hook them onto the side of his halter, as you will see in a couple of seconds. These straps are quick release, so that means that if he were to spook, they would undo from him and he could run away. Your first step is to groom your horse, which I'm going to show really quickly because it's really boring. What you're going to need is a horse, obviously, and all your tack, which I'm about to show you. This is all of my tack that I have ready to use. That's my saddle pad, which I'm going to explain what that is later. This is my half pad. Terrible filming. This is my girth, which attaches to the saddle around his belly. It's made of leather. You can get stretchy, fuzzier ones, and it's totally personal preference. This is my jump saddle. Just lifting up the flap here, and those are the billets that the girth attaches to. Next is my bridle, which goes on his head. And this is the 5-point, which attaches to the saddle. The next step that we're going to do is put on his boots, but before you put on his boots, you need to know where exactly they go. The boots go onto the cannon bone and around the fetlock, protecting the tendons. Now that we know where the boots go on the leg, I'm going to show you what they are. These are my open front jump boots that protect the tendon running through the back of his leg. This is so if the back leg was ever to come too far forward and hit, the tendons wouldn't snap. What I'm doing here is just running my hand along his leg to let him know where I am at all times. That's the cannon bone, and this is the fetlock. I'm going to open the boot, run it down his leg until it kind of clicks at the fetlock. Next, I'm going to tighten it around his leg, but not too tight, and close the flasp down and make sure it's on nice and tight. These are the back boots. They protect the fetlock, so if the feet were to ever clip, it doesn't cut him open. Again, I'm just running my hand along his body to let him know where I am. I am just going to slide it down onto the fetlock, wrap it around, not just too tight, and make sure that it doesn't move. Our next step that we're going to do is put on the saddle, but before we do that, I'm just going to give you a little bit of background knowledge on what the saddle is and how it actually became the saddle. This right here is a classic jump saddle, which is the final product of the saddle that we have. So without further ado, we will begin. Around 2000 BC, when people first started to ride horses, they rode mostly bareback, or they would sit on a piece of cloth or animal hide. The Bronze and Iron Age man, while making good use of the leather for footwear and harnesses, didn't actually make any saddles, although evidence of bridles and reins have been found for that time period. It was the late Iron Age period that the saddle first began to appear. The first use of the saddle is attributed to the Moors in North Africa. These early people began to recognize that riding for any length of time was uncomfortable, and early saddles became to emerge that formed a padded barrier between the rider and the horse. As with all inventions, it started off pretty simple, but soon became more decorated and much more elaborate and comfortable. After 3,000 years of development, we finally have the saddle that we have today, and it can actually be custom built to you and the horse, which allows you and your horse to be able to do stuff like jump this Weldon's wall, which allows you to keep your center of gravity and the horse to move freely with his shoulders. The first part in putting on a saddle is to put on your saddle pads. You place these right on top of the wither, which I just actually ran my hand over. The saddle pad just simply provides comfort and the saddle from rubbing on him. The next part is the half pad. Again, this is just extra padding and it makes the saddle just fit just a little bit better. Now we are going to grab the saddle and place it on top of his back. You hold the saddle like this. placing it on top of his back gently, making sure you don't slam it down. What I'm going to do next is grab these saddle pads and pull them up towards the pommel of the saddle. This creates a nice airflow through the back. The next are the billets, which the girth attaches to. And what we're actually going to do is pull these straps and the saddle pads that I kind of played with before and wrap those around the very first billet. This prevents the saddle pads from slipping back at any point in time during your ride. Continue on with doing this to the other side. Our next piece of tack is a 5-point breastplate. This part here attaches to the saddle. This hits right at the shoulder. It's kind of fuzzy. This part goes and hits right at his chest. This is where the girth loops through. What I'm just going to do now is unhook him so I can place it over top of his head, keeping him hooked up on one side so he can't run away with me. Next, I'm just going to unhook the cross tie from underneath the breastplate and hook him back up. The purpose of the breastplate is so the saddle doesn't slip backwards. The 5-point just ensures that it's never going to pull on his neck and it keeps it kind of nice. So what I'm going to do is there's a little flap that you can't see actually, but there's a little hook and you hook it right on to the. Next I'm going to come around to the left side of his body, and the side that doesn't have the elastics I am going to place the loop around the girth. Once that is done, I'm going to put it through the first billet and push it through the hole. Repeating with the last billet, not the middle one, and putting it to the correct hole as well. Next, I'm going to put this long part of the breastplate and feed the girth through the loop. This just ensures that the breastplate doesn't kind of shift around while it's on him. After I've looped this through, I am going to put it right under this part of the saddle pad like I did on the other side with the elastics. The elastics just allow you to pull up some more because it's going to be tighter now that you're on the final side. Once I put the loops through, once I put it through the loop, I am going to tighten it again as far as I can right now and put it through the holes. Before I get on, I will be able to tighten it some more. The final step is the bridle. That is the brow band, which goes across his forehead. That goes over top of his head. This is the nose band that attaches to the back. And this is my bit. It's a Waterford bit, and basically that just means it doesn't allow him to pull down on me. These are my reins, which allow me to control him. Now we've got to the final part and putting on the bridle. You're going to unhook him from the cross ties, keeping a firm hold on him. Now I'm going to place the reins over his head, so when I take off the halter, he's still near me and can't run away. Once I take the halter off of his head, I just kind of toss it to the side. Next, you're going to grab the bridle in your right hand and place it on his nose, so if he throws his head up, you have control over him. Next, I'm going to place the bit in my fingers, like so, and put it under his mouth. Next, I'm going to put my thumb in between a space where there's actually no teeth for the bit to sit perfectly, and push it in. The bits do not hurt them at all. Next, I just tuck his ear right underneath and pull his forelock out. Now I'm going to do up the throat latch. When you do your throat latch up, you should be able to fit a full fist, which you can kind of see me do right here. This is so when I push down on his head and he goes on the bit, it's not too tight and kind of choking him. So I just tighten it up and put it through the fastener. And you can see that I'm very easily able to move a fist through. Next, I just put it through these fasteners so there's no ugly flaps hanging out. The next part is the nose band. This tucks under the piece of leather that connects to the bit. It's very important that you have it underneath. So you can see I have it underneath on the other side. When doing up the nose band, you should be able to fit 2 fingers in between very easily. So I'm just going to tighten it up, put it through the hole. You can see that I'm easily able to slide 2 fingers in and put it through the fasteners. The final step is to put your reins over your head, his head, so you can lead the horse out. Finally, like I said I was going to do earlier, I'm just going to tighten up my girth a couple more holes so my saddle doesn't slip and slide all over the place. These are your stirrups, and they run up and down. It's important not to leave them down so they don't catch on anything. You pull them down when you get on, but since I'm not ready to get on yet, I'm just going to roll them back up and